Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexios here. It's Thursday Think Tank, and today we're talking about JJ Redick. I really wanted to just blow off this rumor as being like silly, but then Woj has supported and said that yes, it's legit that we have interviewed him, JJ Redick, for the position of head coach of the Toronto Raptors. But I don't know how to take this like interview with us. I don't think that it was like he's a serious viable candidate. I think it was just kind of like we're doing an exhaustive search and looking through at everybody that's possible in different ways. But in some ways, this is just not a realistic pick. There's a couple of reasons why. I kind of talked about him yesterday a little bit. Obviously, he's picked broadcasting as a career after he got done and not really went to sit on a bench with a coach and learn from them. This is a big part of becoming an NBA head coach is sitting as an assistant and learning underneath. You could be a player and you can play and be on the court and do all this kind of Kyle Lowry kind of stuff. But being the coach is a different kind of thing. And you really kind of need experience at that as just as much as being a player. You can have all the knowledge and you can be a 15-year pro, but that doesn't mean you have coaching knowledge, that a coaching experience. Like in some ways, you have to go through the reps of being a coach for a while to get good at it. That's why somebody like Budenholzer is a way better, candidate because he has tons of time used to making up coaching plans and doing coaching stuff over and over again. Whereas JJ, he maybe did a bit of it as a player back in the day, and he can talk about it and sound real smart on TV. But in some ways, he doesn't really have the right kind of experience to run a team. It's funny how a lot of people in the media are like, JJ would be great, all this kind of stuff. Kendrick Perkins in particular. This is what he's saying on Twitter about it. This actually would be a great hire for Toronto. JJ knows his shit and will demand the locker room. Plus, he can speak the player's language. Anytime a former player can get in that seat, I'm all here for it. Now, Kendrick may like this partly because of like the precedent it sets for him. Like if they're going to come hire JJ Redick as a head coach in the NBA, well, why wouldn't they consider Kendrick Perkins? I don't know. Maybe because you guys are like always talking out your ass on TV and half the times it's just sensationalized dumb stuff. Part of the reason why JJ Redick looks so good and possibly could be our coach is because of people like Kendrick Perkins sounding so dumb on TV. It's like JJ is one of the smarter talking heads on ESPN. So he looks smart just in comparison to a lot of the idiots that he's on TV with all the time. So I don't know. Some people are saying this would be an interesting experiment, a good idea. Well, we don't want an experiment. That's one thing we don't want in Toronto. We don't want to be cutting edge and experimental with our coach. And getting JJ Redick, who's being called Nash 2.0, is not a good move. In fact, there's some problems I have with it ethically. In some ways, you got somebody like Earl Watson, Adrian Griffin. These guys have been sitting as assistant coaches for almost a decade or over a decade in some cases. There's a lot of guys who've been assistant coaches for a long time, like Sam Cassell, that have not gotten the chance. And if JJ Redick just got one handed to him, well, there would be a privilege issue here in some ways. Like they call it cutting the line. In some ways, there's guys that are in the system of coaching in the NBA that are putting in the time as assistant coaches. And that if JJ Redick just walked from the broadcast booth straight into a head coaching job, that would not be the right message to send from Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster. I don't care how innovative or possible this guy could possibly do changes and stuff like that. You still don't do that, especially when you've had a guy like Earl Watson in your system. And you're kind of like, yeah, we're kind of like building you up. And then you just go and get somebody like this. Yeah, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea in all kinds of different ways. In fact, it's kind of insulting. Some people are making fun of the Raptors for interviewing JJ Redick. They think it's a joke. And some people are saying, yeah, go ahead and get him. It's like, see, we don't need to be making mistakes like this. In some ways, I think just us and having any kind of announcement that we interviewed him is kind of a fail. In other ways, I wouldn't want him here anyway, just because, he doesn't have close ties to Toronto. If you listen to him when he interviews like Fred VanVleet or other Raptors, he doesn't really talk about, I know he loves the city, but he doesn't have the same kind of respect and love for the city that a person should have if they're going to be the head coach of the Raptors. And that's another problem I have with him. He's still kind of the enemy. And he also played a lot against a lot of our guys. Like, remember the NBA championship in Philadelphia series and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm with Monique. Monique is first in, and she's saying, "Good morning, everyone. Hard pass on JJ Redick." I'm officially with Monique on this one. Very hard pass. In fact, like maybe out of all the people they've named so far, this is the one we do not need to have any kind of like. There's no second interview, Bobby. Please. Maybe you did it just to be fun. Interview JJ just for fun and say, "Hey, this is what an NBA interview for a head coaching job is. JJ, here, come on in and see." Oh, cool, Bobby. Let me see. I might even talk about this on my podcast so I can give people insight on what's going on with head coaching interviews and stuff like that. It could have been something like that. They're doing so many already. Why not just have a whole bunch of different people come in? Well, if we want to hire JJ Redick to MLSE, he needs to go sit next to Leo and replace Sam Mitchell or something like that, or replace Leo Routon with Sam Mitchell or something like that. That's where he needs to be working, is on TV. It's not on a bench. So it's just a silly kind of move. I mean, I know it's for real because Woj said he's confirmed that he has had an interview with us, but hopefully that is all, and this will just die out and go away in some ways, because it is true. Some people are like, "Go ahead and hire him, Raptors." And then Raptor fans are kind of like, some of them are kind of like, "This will be refreshing. This will be a great idea." And I'm like, no, let's not be dumb. Let's not be dumb and be like, "Yeah, let's get JJ Redick. Yeah, that's really smart." Some people are like, "Oh, he's cute. Let's get him." Fuck all that. We want a good coach. We want a coach that's going to do good things for us. And JJ Redick is not that guy. I don't care how much basketball he knows. I don't care if he would have the respect of the players, Kendrick Perkins. I don't care if all that stuff. That just is not a good hire. In fact, you can see on my coach's spreadsheet that I have, guys, that I keep updating. You can check it whenever you guys want. Usually there's a link somewhere on my stream. I'll put it into the chat real quick. You can see that I've added JJ to the spreadsheet, and just going over it with JJ on there. Look, all right. First of all, he's 38, so he's one of the younger candidates. In some ways, that's good, but in a lot of ways, it's not. I don't really want a candidate in their 30s. The early 40s and into the mid 40s is probably the sweet spot for where we want our candidates' age to be. Somewhere in the 40s, probably. But yeah, 38, it's a little young. And then listen, he has no coaching experience whatsoever. He doesn't have a single year of assistant coaching. So in some ways, JJ Redick is the least experienced at coaching out of all the candidates on my spreadsheet. There's 24, 25, 3 candidates now. He has no coaching experience whatsoever, none at all. Yes, he is a 15-year NBA pro, and that is a green box, and that is enticing because he has that real experience as a player, and the player kind of stuff is good. We want more players as coaches. I agree with all that. But JJ Redick isn't taking that path. He's taking the broadcasting path. So I say, what's his coaching tree? Where is he coached under? Nobody, because he hasn't coached anyone. So there's another red flag. We don't know if he'd be a culture fit. And then finally, the other thing is he's never won anything on the pro level. Now, he did well in college, but he never actually did win a championship as a player. So that's like 3 strikes right there, and 3 red boxes on my spreadsheet. I'm just like, nah. No, just like Monique said, hard pass. Hard pass. Monique Lawrence and I are officially saying hard pass on JJ Redick, Masai. Listen to us. Monique and I's heart are in the right place. Tom Duke is here. Good morning, Tom Duke. Good morning, always. Say trust in Masai. And well, perhaps he is trusting the process and keeping his doors and mind open. Interview means he is one of many options. No rush for Masai, really. Yeah, you said morning. Oh, you said morning again. I'll double down on the morning, Tom. Yeah, I mean, I think he's had at least 15 interviews in this past 2 weeks since he's been doing this. We get little rumors here and there. This was a really weird one this week, the one about JJ Redick. I expect the Becky Hammond, interview. I expect, people like Charles Lee and, David Edelman. But, JJ Redick, this is a little out of left field. Doesn't make total sense. In some ways, are you trying to get publicity for a coaching search? Messiah? Is that what it is? You want a little more like, oh, we have a vacancy here, so maybe people will get more attention because we're putting JJ Redick's name out there. I don't know what the meaning or reasoning behind this and putting JJ's name out there like this. It just doesn't really make any sense. I don't think he's a realistic candidate. I think it's just let's get our names in the hot headlines and say, oh, let's remind everyone the coach that we need a coach in Toronto. Ahmet saying, "Yo, happy Thursday, y'all! If we get JJ Redick, I'm gonna become a Pistons or Rockets fan." Oh my gosh, he's not even a good shooting coach. Still hoping for Hammond or Atkinson. Good with Coach Bud and maybe Griffin. There you go. See, if you get JJ Redick, that's an insult to Earl Watson and Adrian Griffin and other guys who have been working and toiling. Rex Kalamian, 30 years as assistant coach, never got a chance. JJ Redick can just say, "Oh, I'm interested," and go walk into a job. No, that's not fair. That's not right. These other guys are waiting for their chance. And as somebody said, he'd be cutting the line. This is kind of what Steve Nash did. That's why they're saying Steve Nash 2.0, because Steve Nash never worked as assistant coach hardly. He did a little bit of work with the Warriors as a consultant, but he barely was on the bench. And he didn't really do any assistant coaching until he got the Brooklyn job. And we see how that went. That's what I'm saying. You could think this guy's, a genius. He's one of the best players who ever played, a two-time MVP. Well, that's not even JJ Redick. And even if he's really smart and he knows his basketball and stuff, that doesn't translate. Trust me. Magic Johnson, failure as a head coach. Larry Bird, okay, but ultimately hated it and left the head coaching job. Michael Jordan, absolutely terrible head coach immediately. Immediately, as soon as he tried, he couldn't. He had to quit because he just couldn't do it. So, I mean, just because a player is a good player doesn't mean they're going to be a good coach. And it's a special kind of player, even a special kind of superstar player that's able to coach. And that's not very common. It's not very common. Most of these guys fail. Even Isaiah Thomas, when he tried to coach, it wasn't fun for him either. And he didn't do a very good job. See, Steve Kerr is along those lines also. Now, JJ Redick's not even an all-star. It's like he's not even a level of those kind of superstars that I just named. So, you can't make the argument that his knowledge from playing and what he did in his career is a good thing on his resume. Because you could have Magic Johnson. Say, "Oh, Magic Johnson, look at his resume. How many championships, how great he is." Yeah, and then watch him coach. Not very good. So, the player stuff is important for connecting and getting along with the players and them respecting them and them having knowledge to talk about when they played. But that isn't the most important knowledge. The knowledge is of coaching. The knowledge is of how to coach a team, what to do when to call timeout, when to do a substitution, when to be on top of like 10 different things. It's like you're spinning 10 different plates all at once in the game, and you have to stay focused. And you can't get emotional. You can't do different things like this. So there's a lot more to head coaching than just being a player, and then you can become a coach. Everybody keeps saying that Kyle Lowry is going to make a great coach after he's done, but I don't think he will. he could do it if he wanted to, but I don't think he wants to. I think that he has a problem with other players being knuckleheads, and especially the youngsters. And he would want to do things right, like how him and Jimmy do it. And he would be kind of like really upset with some of the young players and get frustrated and probably throw his hands up and be like, "I don't want to do this anymore." He could be very much like Michael Jordan. So don't think it's a slam dunk that Kyle Lowry is just going to go right into coaching. In fact, I could see him just taking his money and retiring and playing golf for the rest of his life and not being interested in coaching at all. Because in some ways, these guys know that like these young kids are knuckleheads and they're hard to deal with to a certain extent. And he would find the same frustrations, I bet, that Michael Jordan found when he tried to coach a team way back. So it's that kind of stuff. Very interesting. I like your list, man. It's pretty good. I don't like that you want to switch teams if we get JJ. So God forbid Masai Ujiri do not hire JJ Redick. We don't need to lose Ahmet the GOAT in our fan nation. No, we don't. Isaac Campbell saying Becky Hammond was a better player. For sure. In her respective league and what she did and her way of playing. In fact, we could play them one-on-one on a court, Isaac. And I would be surprised and may see Becky Hammond beating JJ Redick, even in their age right now. You'd be very surprised. She's actually really good still. And she's still in very good shape for a woman in her late 40s. And now you see clips of her in practice with the Aces. and she's doing stuff on the court like she's a player. She's out there dribbling and she's shooting and doing stuff. So she very much can do things physically and showing them instead of telling them. Leslie's saying, "Good morning, Raptor Freak. JJ can definitely interview as an assistant coach, but not as a head coach." Yeah, yeah, and I think that's good. That would work. That would be fine. But no, he should not be the head coach. That does not make any sense whatsoever. Whatsoever, it doesn't make any sense. And I think Leslie's right. I don't know if he would want to just come and be an assistant coach under the coach that comes in. First of all, we got to find out who the head coach is and if they would want him. It's really the head coach is going to have to make their own staff. So we don't need to be hiring assistant coaches separate from the head coach and then hope that they all get along and they work together. No, let's hire the head coach and let them pick their staff and not force JJ Redick, podcaster, as one of their assistant coaches. So I think he's just not going to be a fit in general because I can't see him as somebody who's going to get hired saying, "Oh yeah, I want JJ Redick as one of the assistant coaches." That's fantastic. I don't see that. And it quite possibly be that JJ doesn't really have that much aspirations to go into coaching. He may be just like really flattered that the Raptors wanted to interview him and came in and talked to him and went through the motions just for his own knowledge, just to see what it's like. The only time before I've heard that he was considered for coaching was Boston was trying to get him as an assistant coach shortly after he retired. And he didn't take that job then. So in some ways, I don't know if he wants to take assistant coaching jobs because think about this, you still have to travel and do all the things that an NBA player does. That's one of the things about being a coach is you're basically doing the player's life as a coach, but you're not playing. But there's so much work. There's so much busy work, so much organizational work. You have to be meticulous. You have to be working all the time to help your coach or be the coach to do it. And that's the difference. So it could be that JJ likes not having to travel super a whole lot with the media job. And that's something that some of these guys value when they go into broadcasting is they don't have to travel as much. Let's see. Fiercey's here. Good to see Fiercey Salsera. I don't think it's time for experiments. Yeah. Masai clearly said he wants a chip. Not sure JJ is the man for that task. Yeah. Yeah. If there is some secret, cool new candidate that can magically come in like Nick Nurse and like win a championship pretty quickly that nobody knows about, nobody's talking about, I'm sure Masai and Bobby will figure out which one of these young assistants on these teams that they're interviewing is the guy. And, it may not be one of these guys. I really do like, once again, Budenholzer, Hammond, Stackhouse. Those are your best three right now. And I don't know where they are with what you guys are talking about. If you have second interviews or whatever going on, I just want it to be one of those three names. If you guys, those are the most best attractive winners that we could get that have the right experience and that could do the job the best, in my opinion. Coach Bud, Coach Hammond, Coach Stackhouse. Those are the three right there. Yeah. Let's see. Logical is saying, salute the real ones, Project Truth always. Masai does talk to different former players and invites them to come work for the Raptors based on basketball knowledge. Kenny the Jet has been asked. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's fine. Just don't make a silly, weird hire. I don't know. I trust them, though. I really do trust them that they're going to be really intelligent in who they hire for the head coach. In some ways, we want to get somebody who's going to stick around for a while. We don't want to have to switch our coach again in like 2 years. So we really do want to get it right this time. It's very much like how we do our draft picks. You want to get it right the first time. You don't want to have to switch guys in or make changes later. You just want to get it right right away the first time you make the decision. And that's why this decision can't be taken lightly. Now, Milwaukee is amping up their coaches search, and they're asking a lot of the same people that we've been asking to come in for interviews also. So there is a little bit of competition for some of the people to get the jobs. And, MA going to Houston right away and taking care of filling that vacancy and him being off the market, is the start of the whole thing. Well, we'll see who hires first, if Milwaukee or Toronto is going to hire a new head coach first. And we'll have to see who it is and how that all goes down. Now, Detroit's also involved in all this. Detroit's list is different, though. I can really tell that they're looking for somebody that will work really well with Dwayne Casey. Some of their top candidates are Charles Lee and also Kevin Ollie former player Kevin Ollie. Those are two of the top candidates right now for the Detroit job at this point. I don't hear Adrian Griffin's name getting going around in Detroit at this point. So I don't know if he's actually still in consideration for the Pistons job as strongly as Kevin Ollie or Charles Lee. And then who's the other person? There was another name of, Sam Cassell's also very much in the running for that job. Now, I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Cassell got the Milwaukee job. But as I said, I think Milwaukee's waiting to see if the Lakers get eliminated before the finals and if they're going to fire Darvin Ham. Because Milwaukee would really like to hire Darvin Ham back to be the successor for Budenholzer. That was the plan before the Lakers stole him away this past year and had him coaching this year. Now the Lakers are saying they love Darvin Ham. They think he's been doing a great job. So I don't think that they're going to want to let Darvin Ham leave. So Milwaukee's going to probably have to figure out their next person. And that may be just elevating Charles Lee. That may be just elevating Charles Lee or hiring Sam Cassell. So just a little speculating on some of the head coaching vacancies right now with our team, Milwaukee and Detroit right now. Very, very interesting stuff. Let's see. Shir Khan saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. I believe Raptors are really expanding their search and getting as many interviews as possible to develop a baseline database to compare our differential attributes as far as JJ is concerned for head coach. No, thank you. So we're getting a rounding pretty much consensus that we're not interested in JJ Redick. In fact, it's kind of a joke that we're interviewing him. And, no disrespect, JJ, you could probably do a good head coaching job, but we need you to go get some experience as a coach in the league in some sort of different ways other than just, being a broadcaster, speaking your opinions on TV, sounding smart on ESPN. That's not going to be good enough as far as I'm concerned as a Raptors fan. For our head coach, we need somebody who knows what they're doing is in there. Yeah, David's saying JJ is the GOAT. The GOAT to what? He was he still thinks that, there's a funny meme of JJ in the interview and Masai and Bobby are saying to him, did Kawhi travel on the shot? Did Kawhi travel? Because JJ famously said that he thinks that Kawhi Leonard traveled in that last second play when we beat the Sixers at the last second on the 4-bounce shot by Kawhi Leonard. JJ's very publicly said he believes that Kawhi actually traveled before he took that shot. Well, let's ask him in the interview. Do you think Kawhi traveled still, JJ? We want to know. Do you think he still traveled? All right, Let Me Cook is here. Good to see Let Me Cook. Hey, Raptor Freak. Sixers versus Celtics series has been a roller coaster series. Hope we can finally get over the second round hump. Larry Bird, 3 years coaching. He went to 3 playoffs in the finals. JJ might be good. Yeah, Larry was a good coach. He did great in Indiana, but he got fed up with it. It wasn't that he was bad. It's just that they frustrated the hell out of him, just like Jordan. They have levels of excellence that they want people to standardize for themselves. And not everybody can be Jordan level or Bird level. And when these guys are coaching these guys and they see them and they can't do what they're trying to get them to do because they're not trying as hard, they lose respect for them. And then they're kind of like, I don't even want to waste my time with these losers. So at some point, that was what Larry did. And he moved to the front office as the GM because he got sick of trying to deal with it on the coaching level. But he was very successful. Now, Let Me Cook. Listen, I'm a huge Sixers fan right now. I want y'all to win this series tonight. Yeah, let me do the the ref report for tonight real quick. I got your referees for your game against the Celtics in Philadelphia tonight, Game 6. We got David Guthrie as the crew chief, Ed Malloy, and Curtis Blair. Those are the 3 referees. Now, just so you know, Let Me Cook, all 3 of the refs in your game tonight heavily favor the Celtics. It is showing the sign that they do want to extend the series to 7 games. They want to help the Celtics win tonight. So hopefully you guys can overcome that. The Celtics played so bad in the last game. That was awesome. Maybe they can still be kind of in a funk and playing like dud kind of basketball. And maybe you guys can capitalize on it. James Harden and Joel Embiid were fantastic in the last game. Tyrese Maxey, wow, 30 points. Really, really good stuff. You're getting good defense from PJ Tucker, who's really, really messing up the things they're trying to do with some of the Celtics players. There's a really good effort all around by the Sixers right now. So I'm rooting for you guys to win tonight. But just so you know, You guys have home court, so really that'll be helpful. But the referees are not your friends tonight. In fact, I'm expecting David Guthrie to give you some really weird, wacky calls tonight. The other game tonight is the Suns and the Nuggets in Phoenix, game 6 there. The Suns have to win or they're going to be eliminated. Mark Davis is the crew chief. Ben Taylor and Tyler Ford are the other 2 refs. Now, the game is in Phoenix, but all 3 refs favor the Denver Nuggets in this game. So both road teams getting favoritism from the referees historically from their winning percentages. And some of these aren't even close. Like Ed Malloy really likes the Celtics. So does Curtis Blair. And the Sixers records with those guys is a lot lower than the Celtics record with those guys. So just so you know, let me cook. That's what you're looking at tonight. Thanks for being here. And go Sixers. Beat the Celtics. Put them out tonight, baby. I'm rooting for y'all. You go, James Harden. You go, Tyrese Maxey. Yeah. Mike's saying Messiah understands that certain basketball people are smart and willing to give chances, like Stackhouse. Kenny was asked to come and be a GM person in training. JJ was asked about an assistant, in my opinion. Okay, well, we don't know for sure. Everybody in the press is saying he was, interviewed for the head coaching job. And right now, we really need to kind of fill that before we start filling in assistants. But that's interesting. Yeah, remember the Kenny Smith thing was about GM stuff. Like, Kenny, do you want to come and study under Masai kind of thing? I don't know. I don't really like that. Kenny's so good on TV. He just needs to stay where he is with that inside the NBA crew. That's your lot, bro. Then why would you mess that up? You're winning sports Emmys, and you're going to be known forever and immortalized as one of the greatest sports crews ever on TV to broadcast. Charles Barkley, Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal. You guys are iconic. And I wouldn't mess with that if I was Kenny Smith. I mean, if he wants new challenges, go ahead. But man, don't mess up your good thing. It's kind of like Charles when he started talking about going to work for Live Golf League. And I was like, you're an idiot. Do not go and cover golf. What do you can't even play golf right. So why would you cover golf? Seriously, Charles, stick to what you know, and that's basketball, man. MSJ saying JJ could be a good shooting coach. That's it at this stage. I don't even know if he's good at that. If we're going to get a shooting coach, let's get lethal shooter. That's what everybody keeps saying. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just like, he's just a name in the public now at this point with his podcast and his broadcasting that, I don't think I can take him seriously at any level in some ways. I mean, maybe, yeah, he could be good at shooting coach or assistant coach. But in a lot of ways, I'm like, nah, that's no good. There's my spreadsheet. If y'all want to check it, just go and look at it. We got everybody on there that's been named or linked to interviews for a head coaching job. You can go see all the info on them on my spreadsheet. Updating it all the time as new information comes in. Fiercely saying, when was being cute a factor to win chips? Yeah, this is part of it too. It's like, all right, one of the things in this whole JJ Redick thing that people may not want to talk about, but serious people talk about, and people that are talking about progress and understanding things is privilege. There's a lot of privilege at work in this thing with JJ Redick. In some ways, it's gross. It's very, very gross. I mean, we're asking really high level candidates like Becky Hammond to come here and interview for this job. And in some ways, asking JJ Redick to come in and interview with it is kind of gross in some ways. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a race thing. It could be something about being attractive. Sure. He's attractive. Or it's just a name. I don't understand why they're interviewing him. In fact, it's optics of it don't look really, really good in some ways. When Steve Nash got hired, I didn't agree with that either because it's like, dude, this dude is not like done his time. He's not sat in the trenches. He's not understudied under people like Popovich or Budenholzer or Nurse. And it's like, why do we have any credibility in them? Why would we not have credibility in so-and-so black player if we're going to have it for Steve Nash and JJ Redick? I mean, I can say this. Why not? I'm not in the media. I'm not in this. I'm wondering about that. Like, why does he get to go to the front of the line? Is this a white privilege thing? Is this a cute boy privilege thing? I don't know. But I don't like the optics of this. And I think that if we hired him, it would be a huge PR fail and it would be dumb. It would be so dumb. In fact, I wouldn't be like Ahmet and like change my team allegiance, but I'd start to not trust Masai as much. That's what I'm saying. There can be some knuckleheaded moves that are just like, holy crap, why did you do this? That makes me start to like really question Masai's judgment. So if he hired Redick, it would be like that. It would definitely be like that for me. Race Mode Daily saying maybe the coach we want isn't available yet. Edmund. Yes, I like the way you're thinking, and I hope you're having safe travels. I see you've gone out the west now. I believe you're out in Alberta at this point. You know what? This could be true. I know this is part of what Milwaukee has hinted at. I mean, they even blatantly said that the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks said we want to interview current coaches on teams right now. Well, how do you do that? And why can you get away with saying that? Like these other teams, they're playing in the playoffs still. You could obviously go and what you want to interview a coach that's sitting at home that's already out of the playoffs. Well, what if they're already employed with a team? Like, why can the owners say that of the Bucks? We're interested in owners. We're interested in coaches that are still coaching, currently coaching for other teams. Darvin Ham, is that who you mean, Milwaukee Bucks owner? I mean, seriously, if this is a part of our stance, is we're waiting to see who else is going to get fired. Well, let's think about the teams that are still left. Joe Mazzulla, we don't want him. Doc Rivers, we don't want him. Eric Spoelstra ain't getting fired. Do we want Thibodeau? No. Okay, that's the East, out of the picture. All right, the other side, Darvin Ham. I can see why Milwaukee's waiting. Darvin Ham is very much their tailored assistant that was supposed to come in after Budenholzer. Monty Williams, I don't want him. Michael Malone, I don't think his job's in trouble. And then Steve Kerr. Okay, that doesn't totally make sense. Now we can interview their assistant coaches, and there's nothing wrong with that. And but we can't go and poach like a coach that's already a head coach of another team that's sitting waiting around like us. Like we're not going to go and talk to Quinn Snyder. Now that he's hired by the Hawks and under contract with them. So I don't know. I don't think it's like that. This could be a very frustrating time for Masai. Like they're saying in the press that it's like he's having a hard time because maybe he did really want Becky, but Becky's like, you know what? I can't leave Las Vegas. I'm sorry. I really do feel a very, very strong allegiance to staying in the WNBA and coaching the Las Vegas Aces. I'm sorry, Masai. As much as this is great, that could be part of why Masai's been frustrated, as they say this week. It could be that he's not getting exactly who he wants because they're not ready to come here. So it's tough. We'll see what happens. This is all still developing. There's still names being revealed. Let's see. Cool Cat saying, good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Front office is data gathering on all types of perspectives. Never miss an opportunity to gain data under the guise of searching for a coach. Interesting. So there's more to it than just a coaching search. They just want to know trends and see what's going on. It could be as funny as or simple as this. Bobby and Masai are sitting there and they come in. They're like, all right, tell us what you're going to do with the Raptors. And maybe, this is what a lot of companies do. They have people come in and tell them their idea and their pitch, and then they steal their idea. They may be interviewing like 20 people just to get good ideas. Like, yeah, tell us how you would use Scotty. Tell us how you would use Pascal and Fred in this situation and what this. And they, okay, yeah, ooh, write that down, Bobby. Yeah, write that down real quick. Yeah, put that down. Yeah. And then, do they get in trouble for copyright later? Inventors will be like, they stole my invention. They started making it. I came and sold it to them, and then they made one little change and made a copyright, and they're selling it now. Oh, it could be something like that. That, like Cool Cat's saying, is that they're interviewing them for ideas. It's like their own think tank, their candidate think tank. We're the think tank of Raptor Freaks, and they're getting interviews with their coaching think tank for ideas on how they can go with the Raptors. Very, very interesting. I wonder if some of the candidates come in and they're like, no, we're not telling you, Masai. You want to know what I'm going to do? Okay, well, give me $1 million up front right now. Something like that. It could be crazy. Fiercely saying, was Steve Kerr a coach prior to joining Golden State Warriors? I don't believe he was, but I may be wrong. He was with the Spurs as kind of a player coach near the end of his career. Like he's definitely from the Popovich coaching tree. And I can remember near the end of his career, he was on the Spurs and he was very much doing assistant coach kind of duties while he was also available to play. Now, I don't know if he technically actually did do any assistant coaching. I want to say that he did spend at least a year under Popovich, a year or two, like seriously, just as a coach before he took the Golden State job. So I do think he was an assistant coach under Popovich, but very briefly and not for long. It may have been like only a year. And then he got the Golden State job. So, we got to think about when was Kerr. Let me go look at it. I might as well just look at it. I can fact check myself. Why not? Go check yourself. Let's see how much you know. You test yourself on Raptors knowledge. Let's see how much you know about Steve Kerr. Okay, so Steve Kerr started. He ended up playing. He finished playing in 2003. All right, where's his coaching career? La 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 la. Okay, he actually went into broadcasting for a while. Remember, he was on TNT with Marv Albert, and he was doing a whole bunch of stuff. And then he was an executive for the Suns. He was actually in the front office before he came back to coaching. Okay, so yeah, technically he really didn't actually do any assistant coaching. He actually went straight as a head coach of the Golden State Warriors. He's been there ever since. So the in between time, he was actually in the front office and broadcasting. And I don't actually see his any years of assistant coaching. So you're right. You are right, Fiercey. Leslie saying, "How hungry are you? Please, no JJ, unless he's the third row of Raptors assistant coaches. Yeah, you want to put him in the back there with John Goodwillie. Yeah, I'm agree with you. And how hungry are you? New episodes have been coming out. He's had like Aaron Rodgers. He's had different pretty good guests. Serge Ibaka. Yesterday on Twitter, Serge was thanking Canada for all the love still. He's actually really surprised at how much Toronto and Canada still really loves him a lot. He's overwhelmed by it. Dude, you got to understand, bro. You have a home here, Serge. You're a Raptor legend. You're a champion, and you will always be welcome here in Toronto. In fact, in some ways, I'd like you to come and maybe be an assistant coach on our team or maybe a player coach next year. That would be great. We could use some of your intangibles, your spirit of fight, and maybe just like the locker room presence or the big guy, Serge Ibaka, lurking around. If you're going to interview JJ Redick, why don't you interview Serge Masai Ujiri? I know that sounds a little out of the box and crazy, but seriously, I wouldn't mind having Serge Ibaka around our team just for vibes. Now, he may not want to be on a team as a coach. He may actually still want to play. So maybe we should think about bringing him back and making him our third center at the very end with Koloko and Pirtle. It would make things really solidified at our five. And even if he doesn't play ever, he's that emergency center experienced guy. He's a good locker room guy. Give him a contract. We know he's good with OG. He's another one of our championship guys who's on that picture next to me right there. And we could reacquire some of that championship spirit. So listen, Serge is not on a team right now, and he is still probably able to play physically. He keeps himself in good shape. We don't have to play him much. He can be at the end of the bench. He's a great leader. Let's consider doing this, especially since Nick is gone. And I think that part of the reasons why Serge had a problem near the end of his career with the Raptors was Nick Nurse specifically. So, hey, let's look into that, Masai. Get Serge Ibaka back on Toronto as a player or as a coach. I don't care. Just get him in the fold. Let's see. Mike is saying Nick Nurse was our shooting guy. We need someone new now. Well, we don't need Nick anymore. The machines have replaced Nick. Have you met our new coach, Noah? McNoah? Hello, Raptors. This is your new shooting coach, Noah, McNoah. That's right. Nick Nurse has been replaced by AI. Bah, bah, bah. Dun, dun, dun. We're all going to be replaced by AI at some point. Well, Nick Nurse didn't even know it when he hired the Noah system, that the Noah system would take his job. Oh man, this is like Skynet, Terminator shit. Oh yeah. Ahmed saying, on my life, laughing my ass off. Okay, that's what you mean, Ami? On my life. I don't know all those sayings. Mike has a lot of weird ones too. G saying, JJ Redick knows how to break down the game very well. Seems respected, and would he attract free agents? I don't know. The coaching experience is a big negative, and yes, sends a message that may not be great. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Sure, he can analyze it. Sure, he can talk about it. They say those that cannot do, teach. And those that can do, do it. And in some ways, we got to see him out there. In some ways, yeah, he can look like he's right all the time when he's just on TV and there's nothing on the line. But right will he be making the coaching decisions in the game? And how quickly can he do it? I'm not saying he can't. I bet you he could be a good coach eventually and develop into one, but he's not developing himself on that path right now. Like, say, an Earl Watson has been developing himself on that path, or an Adrian Griffin. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't look good, the optics of it. We just go and hire another Steve Nash, Steve Kerr kind of thing, JJ Redick. I don't like that. G's saying, is Serge in town? I think he is. I think he is. His Twitter's saying, I can't believe all the love I still get here in Canada from everybody up here. Well, we love you, Serge. We always will. You're an international man. You're a natural man. You are the dude. And we want you here with Avec class. Yes, come here to Toronto, Avec class. And we will be very happy to have you around the Raptors as just normal. You want to be like JYD, you want to be like Jamal McGlure, we could find a job title for you. And if you want to be in the international city of Toronto, so you can do all of your modeling and singing and art, you could be here. Let's make this happen, Masai. Let's get Ibaka back in the fold. Yes. Fiercely saying, Pascal being snubbed. Will you address it, Lex? I was extremely disappointed. Woo-hoo-hoo. Fiercely saw Sarah's got a hot topic. The all NBA teams came out yesterday, and they're very, very interesting. Well, I was going to talk about them more tomorrow on the Friday freaking out about this very thing that Fiercely's saying here. In some ways, I'm not upset about this. In fact, I'm not even going to say he's snubbed. Because, even though he had a better year personally for the years before that he has been on All NBA, that doesn't mean that he deserved it this year. In some ways, near the end of the season, he kind of lagged at the end of the season. If you watch Siakam's performance throughout the whole year, he was very strong at different times. Of course, he got hurt near the beginning of the season. And then he had very strong time when we were really struggling in December and January. And then the last month of the year, he did not look good. He didn't play as well or strong. Now, there's some people on the All-NBA teams that I would take off of there, and I could put Siakam in. But once again, some of this stuff is, these guys are getting on these All-NBA teams. They won't get on the team next year because they didn't play enough games. But this year, the rule isn't in effect. So they can make the teams this year, even though a lot of them shouldn't be on there. Like even Joel Embiid did not play 65 games this season. So he doesn't actually deserve to be on the All-NBA team, but they can't do that this year. So Joel, you better make sure you make 65 games next year if you want to try and be a repeat MVP. You better make sure you get the 65 games, Anthony Davis, if you really want to be considered for any of these postseason awards starting next year. We're going to talk about Pascal and his role and how I would have switched the all NBA teams around. I'm going to, tomorrow, Friday Freakout, I'm going to present my NBA all teams that they should have picked for the 3 teams instead. That'll be tomorrow's content. Friday Freakout, who I would have picked for the NBA all NBA teams. Yeah. Shirkan saying, if JJ is hired as a head coach, it will more likely be another Nash situation, not able to command same sort of respect like other seasoned coaches. Good players don't always translate to good coaches. Truth. Yes. And yes. And listen, did Nash, like when you watch those games, the Nets and Nash, did it seem like Nash had the respect of the refs as much as some of the other coaches around? No, he was quiet. He was sheepish. He was unaggressive. He was very kind of like, I'm just here. I'm going to maybe politely say this to you, Reverend. The rest like, no, you got to yell at me if you really want to get my attention. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Canadian. Please. Thank you. No, Steve, you have to have an edge. You have to get in there and you have to be pissed off. And you have to look angry and crazy like Budenholzer and Nurse to get good things done as a coach. So it's like, JJ, I could see a fire in him. He wouldn't be, as sheepish as Steve was. But still, that's what I'm saying. There's some stuff that doesn't totally translate. Even though you're a 15-year pro, you have all this playing experience. Some of it isn't. There's other stuff you have to learn as a coach. And there's like a thing you got to go through. And that's why we much rather have an established guy. We're in a weird place with our team where we're kind of like we could go in all kinds of different directions. Well, we want to make sure the coach is helping us in the right direction. And we can't have a coach that's going to be like, woo, or a coach that's trying out or learning on the job. No, we need a coach that knows what they're doing. And that's really, really important with this next hire. We can't have a new guy. I'm sorry. A new person, a new hot shot. I'm not willing to go with that unless they really, really seem like they're capable and they really will handle the head coaching job really well because they've been trained right as an assistant coach and they've had experience taking over for their head coach when they've gotten thrown out or because they were sick and they actually did get to run a couple games, even though they've never technically been a head coach. Those are the kind of people we want, like Adrian Griffin or other people like Charles Lee, who's the associate head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks and very much kind of doing head coaching stuff alongside Budenholzer in the last couple years. So, all right, good stuff. Monique is saying, hear me out, Lex. He ain't no Chauncey Billups. Chauncey shouldn't have been a coach for Portland, in my opinion. Yeah, that's another one. You know, Chauncey did do some assistant coaching, I believe, but he got his coaching job pretty early. And he hasn't been super great in Portland. I mean, he's had a mixed bag of success. There's been a little bit, but for the most part, I don't think he's been a very super successful coach. And that's what I'm saying. These guys, just because they're players, it takes a very, very special breed to be like a Lenny Wilkins, a guy who's a very, very good coach, also as a good player, also. There's not a whole lot of them. Even the very, very good superstars, they have to temper patience and understanding with their ability to their like a dying ability to compete at all costs and win. You know, they have to really be patient with guys that just don't have the same temperament as them. Let's see who else is here. Let's see what's up with what's going on. It jumped a little bit. Let me get back to the right spot. All right, Trevor's saying, good morning. JJ will be a good shooting coach. 4 guys from 3-point shots on the Raptors. He might bring something different. Assistant coach, but not head coach. So Trevor thinks he'd be fine as an assistant coach, maybe the shooting coach. That's what a lot of people are saying this morning. JJ, you're a great shooting coach, but we don't necessarily want you to run the show. David's saying, does JJ have a second cousin or a sister or a dog? I take those over JJ. Wow, David, I thought you said earlier you liked JJ in your comment. Well, now you're saying you would take his second cousin. Well, this is the wrong direction that we're going in. We'd rather take somebody more capable than his knowledge. Okay. Most saying the draft combine is next week, news and notes. Yeah, the draft lottery next week also. We're going to find out where we're going to be picking officially. And that list of names is out of all the people coming to the draft combine. Wembayama is not on the list. He's continuing to play his season over in Europe. So he will not be at the draft combine, but almost everybody else is there, like Leonard Miller, Scoot Henderson, Zach Edey. They're all there. Yes. Lion Hunter's here. Good to see Lion Hunter. It's been a little bit. Good to see you, man. Aren't Fred and JJ very close? Well, they seem like it from their interviews. You know, I don't think that they're actually close. They're just really respected rivals. And that he's done JJ's podcast twice now, and they have a natural camaraderie and get along together. But I don't think they're actually like good buddies or they talk to each other outside of things. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, thanks for having me on the Old Man and the Three. And I don't mind answering your questions, being here with you, JJ. But I don't know how actually close they are. They obviously do get along, and that's a good starting point. There's a mutual respect. But also in those interviews, you've heard them say, I hated you. I hated you when I played you. You're really annoying. And, you know, there's that also. But JJ's retired. So in some ways, a lot of that animosity from being competitive against each other is gone. But yeah, there's a mutual respect for each other's skills and the competition that they've had as players against each other. But I wouldn't call them exactly friends. How about that? You know, I can tell. It's kind of like they're mutual adversaries that respect each other, but I don't know if they're exactly friends. Mike is saying it's more Masai liking JJ. Masai has been trying to make a JJ Redick for this team. It's smart to maybe bring him in as the new shooting coach to get the data on the meta of the JJ role in the NBA. Look, if this guy wants to come down and talk to Joe Wieskamp, talk to Malachi, talk to some of these shooters on our team and help them with their mechanics, help them with kind of some tricks of the trade that he learned from when he played. I'm all about that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Masai, try to tread softly with JJ Redick and be smart. He's not a flashy good pick for a head coach, for sure. That is for sure. I know this. Shere Khan saying, just had to chime in on the Kawhi travel bit with JJ. Almost every single player travels and palms the ball on a regular basis. Even the refs say in interviews that sometimes they call it or not. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, in some ways, we know that the NBA is crooked because they pick and choose when they want to call stuff depending on the situation. These playoffs show this kind of stuff. The free throw discrepancies bounce back and forth between teams depending on which night they want to feed the team to try and help them win. That's a big part of it. We can look at the games last night and see that, all right, in the Miami New York game, we got 19 free throws for the Miami Heat. How many free throws did the Knicks get to shoot in an attempt to keep the series alive and keep the Knicks alive? They gave the Knicks 40 free throws. They doubled up their free throw attempts. On the Miami Heat, they only won by 9, and they gave them 21 more free throw attempts. Now, people will say, oh, they're not as aggressive. They're being more aggressive. That's bullshit. Because in some ways, you can look at this whole series and you could probably see, well, this game, they favored the Miami Heat and piled on a bunch of free throw attempts on their side. But giving the New York Knicks 40 free throw attempts to 19 free throw attempts for the Heat, that's very much stacking the other side to help that team get there. I don't know why they're honking outside. You can go on, move on with the big truck. Yeah. But yeah, it's very subjective and there is fishy stuff going on. We'll see. I think the Sixers, if the Celtics play really lame tonight again, the Sixers can overcome it at home and close them out and eliminate them. But no, Sixers fans, the NBA refs are trying to help the Celtics take it to a game 7 for sure tonight. And they're going to want it in Boston. And hopefully they're going to want to see them beat y'all. Seriously, the NBA wants the Celtics to play the Lakers in the finals. So y'all may be up right now. Y'all need to take care of business tonight. Don't mess around. Big game, James. We need Houston, James. And Joel, you got to play really, really good. And then the rest of them, give some good contributions overall. And beat the Boston Celtics and just put them out tonight. Please, just put them out tonight. You have your foot on their throat. You need to finish them. Because if they help them win tonight, and you guys have to go to Boston and beat them in Boston, yeah, that's going to be way harder than beating them tonight. So take care of it in game 6. Please, Sixers, just take care of it. G saying, did you ever talk about the Nuggets assistant, Coach Edelman? Yeah, I did touch on him the day after we talked about him, but I can go over him again real quick for you, G. David Edelman is the son of Rick Edelman, former NBA coach who used to coach the Portland Trailblazers in the 80s. He was coaching the Trailblazers against the Bad Boys in the first championship year for Detroit when Isaiah and Bill Laimbeer and them won. Coach Edelman was the coach of the Trailblazers. Then, of course, Rick Edelman became the coach of the Sacramento Kings in the 2000s. And he was coaching that Chris Webber, Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, Jason Williams teams against the Lakers. And in fact, he was coaching that team of Sacramento when the refs railroaded the Kings against the Lakers and Kobe and Shaq around 2007, 2008. So his dad was a very successful head coach in the NBA for a very long time. Now, David has always just been an assistant coach, and he's been an assistant coach in Minnesota and Denver. He was under head coach Flip Saunders. Sam Mitchell was actually one of the coaches that David Edelman coached under. Frank Vogel is another one. And so is, of course, Michael Malone, who he's coaching under now. He has 12 years as an assistant coach. And really, with his experience of growing up under his dad and all the knowledge, he probably has way more experience than just that 12 years. So he definitely knows his stuff. And he's definitely a hot shot and one of these young coaches that are being looked at as being a future head coach, like Jordi Fernandez, Charles Lee, and Chris Quinn. Now, he's never, ever won anything, ever. I'm not interested in David Edelman. There may be a little bit more favoritism for him because of his ties with the Nuggets and Masai's ties with the Nuggets. But I don't think, once again, I think that some of these younger candidates are getting interviewed partly for the process of getting more training in the interviews and getting more practice at it. And maybe they hit a home run. Maybe they come in and they knock their socks off and say, wow, David Edelman really knows his basketball. And what he would do with the Raptors is very interesting, Bobby. Maybe we should hire him. Yes, Masai, maybe we should. I don't know. But for the most part, those young hotshots like Charles Lee, Chris Quinn, David Edelman, I'm not that interested in them. I kind of really do want somebody who's bona fide already, like a legit head coach, more like Budenholzer. So it's tough. It's tough. But yeah, there you go. There's a little bit on David Edelman. He has a fantastic father who's very much a hugely successful NBA head coach. Does he have the DNA? Maybe he does. Nameless is saying, if we hire JJ Redick, I swear to God, I know, and David's laughing about it too. I know we're not going to hire him. Trust me. I'm pretty sure he's not going to hire him. I think this is some sort of weird PR thing they're doing this week. Monique saying Scotty is doing martial arts. All right, listen. All right, let's do our Instagram checking on our Raptors and see what's going on their social media. Well, Scotty is in Palm Beach, his hometown, and he is at All Star Martial Arts Academy. So he's putting in work, diversifying his athletics by going down there and doing some training in the martial arts to keep working out and doing different stuff. Pretty cool stuff. And maybe it's somewhere that he trained when he was younger. Yeah, I bet you he's been to All Star Martial Arts Academy when he was younger. Also, last night, Scotty watching the latest Marvel movie in a screening room. I don't know what the movie is. You guys tell me. He thinks that the movie was 10 out of 10, though. There's some girl with white hair. I'm not sure what movie is this. This is Guardians of the Galaxy. It looks like it may be Guardians of the Galaxy by her costume, but I don't know which movie this is. So, is there a new Guardians of the Galaxy coming out? I think Scotty watched it last night. He was all into it. Yesterday was Earl Watson's dad's birthday, I believe. He was celebrating his dad a lot. Yeah, that's pretty cute and nice to see Earl celebrating his dad. Let's see what else is going on. Precious is pushing golf equipment. He's all about tailor made, and he's out on the links hitting some golf balls. Precious is a very avid golfer, and he's putting he's endorsing tailor made golf clubs. So you can check that out. Let's see what else is going on. Fred, of course, yesterday, after we got done on our stream yesterday, Fred started tweeting a bit and he erased all the tweets afterwards. He's in a really weird place. You can tell Fred is in a very like philosophical place in his mind. You know, he said earlier this season, around when his daughter Layla was born, and remember he missed some games in a row. I was very critical of him for missing the Cleveland game on Sunday. Well, he said that he had the birth of his daughter Layla, and also the loss of somebody in his family, somebody who passed away. And he really got really like philosophical about life and death, and really seeing like the birth of his daughter and then somebody passing away really got deep from Fred. And he's in some deep spaces in his head. Well, yesterday, on Twitter, he posted a couple things, and I'm kind of glad that I took them and put them in our chat because he deleted them later. And I don't know, we would have lost them forever if I hadn't copied them and put them in the chat. So let me read what he said from our chat in Facebook yesterday. Fred basically said this, and this is a little bit telling and very, very weird. He said, Fred Van Vliet said, "We are all on borrowed time." Woo! And then he said, "We should appreciate every day we get." And then he said, "My bad. Twitter is dramatic as fuck." And he's laughing about it. Well, basically, he's saying we're all on borrowed time. He's saying stuff like we should appreciate our time while we have it. He's saying, and then on his Twitter or on his Instagram, he's saying, but money can buy a lot of things, but there are some things that money cannot buy, and do not lose those things that money cannot buy. So he's, there's a couple of nods here. There's really weird messages. Some people thought maybe some of these messages were in code for Nick Nurse. Some of these messages are code for what's going on with him personally in his contract negotiations with Masai Ujiri. There's a lot to read into this. But if you really take the meat and the general meaning of what he's saying, he's saying appreciate life and realize that it's futile, that everybody's going to die someday. So make the best of your life and value what's important in your life. In some ways, in our society, it's really shoved down our throats to buy and have money and spend and all this kind of stuff. And in some ways, Fred is hinting in his social media messages yesterday that the things that are important to him may not be what you think they are. That, in some ways, maybe he's, it could be something as simple as the recent passing of Denny Crum, the Louisville, his legendary head coach of Louisville, just passed this week. These kind of things. It could be that Coach Budenholzer's brother died in a car wreck. It could be that there's a tragedy that happened with Nick this season that we don't know about that he's mourning from, and that's part of the reason why he's so silent still. It could be a whole lot of different things that Fred's alluding to. It could be that it was a family member that had passed this past season that he misses still at this point. So there's a lot of different things that this could be reading into Fred's stuff. And of course, Fred, if you're going to write cryptic messages on your Twitter, everybody's going to freak out and try and figure out what's going on. I know you had a good intention when you wrote that stuff, but I'm sure you opened a can of worms that you just didn't feel like you needed to. And in some ways, you're probably like, I don't think I'm going to ever post like cryptic messages on Twitter ever again like this, because people really overreact and then they go crazy. And of course, there's a lot of ugliness, a lot of stupid trolls on there saying stupid things, mean things to him after he writes things like that. But he's ignoring them, he's not listening to them. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, Fred. Everybody wants to know what's going on with you and your contract. So whenever you post something, everybody's listening, trust me. And they're going to be reading into it, trying to figure out, well, is he coming back to Toronto or not? In some ways, I was worried. I went and looked at all his social media, and he doesn't have the Toronto Raptors stuff on there anymore. And that scares me. There's certain players that have wiped their profiles of being connected to the Raptors. I went and kind of looked at all the Raptors social media, and there's certain guys that have the Raptors on there still, and there's certain guys that don't. The guys that have Raptors still listed are like Pascal, Koloko, Scotty. Who's another one? For sure. Pirtle, even Pirtle. Pirtle's an unrestricted free agent, and Pirtle has Raptors all over all of his social media. Meanwhile, Precious, OGs, Jeff Doughton, Freddie, no mention of the Raptors on their things. Now, does this mean these guys are all leaving or going somewhere? No. It just means that they're in limbo and they kind of they're out there, and maybe they don't know for sure. I'm sure as soon as they hear and they're locked back in with the Raptors, then it goes right back up. And you see Toronto Raptors back on their Instagram or Twitter pages. So it's a weird kind of signal in some ways. You can see who's really ensconced and in. And the fact that Koloko, Pascal, Jakob, Scotty, those guys are for sure with the Raptors on their profiles, that's good. And that says that like Siakam's not going anywhere. In some ways, that is a tell that Siakam is not going to be the dude that's going to get moved, and that these other guys that don't have Raptors on there are more likely to be trade targets than Siakam. And that would make more sense. Like if we're bringing Pirtle back, we've said this before, they're best friends, they have a chemistry. We drafted Koloko last year. We've got Rico Hines on staff, and he still has his Toronto Raptors stuff on there. All the Pascal people have Toronto Raptors on all their social media websites still right now. So that really is saying and pointing to that Siakam's not going to get moved. That if anybody's going to be on the Raptors next year, it'll definitely be Scotty and Siakam. So I really did go and check all this, and it's disappointing to see the guys who don't have it on there, but I can understand why they have to do this, because it is a business, and they may find out tomorrow they're traded somewhere all of a sudden, and it's not totally up to them. That's part of it. Until Fred's contract gets resolved, we won't see what team he's affiliated with until it's done. And hopefully it'll just be Toronto. I still think that he really does just want to work with us and stay here. It's just that they've got to figure it all out and go through the process. So let's see what else is going on. G saying martial arts is so great for the core, speed, endurance, and coordination and confidence. I think that's great that he's doing that. Scotty was asked last summer at one point, would you ever do UFC, Scotty? And what he said was hilarious. He said, I don't want to hurt anybody. I like watching it and I like doing martial arts, but he doesn't like fighting people. And he wouldn't be a good UFC fighter because he's too nurturing and caring and nice to want to beat the shit out of somebody. So that was a pretty funny thing that you just made me think of, is when they asked Scotty if he would fight in UFC after his basketball career, and he said no, he would not. He respects the sport and he enjoys watching it, but he doesn't want to be a fighter himself. Cool Cat saying JJ Redick is in the interview process for the ESPN influence of coverage for our players. It's a strategic move. I guess I can see that, but maybe not. Like, I don't know what this makes any sense. Like, do we want this attention during this unsettled, weird time right now? In some ways, we kind of want to just be silent and go about our business and just all of a sudden say, this is who we've hired, and boom. In some ways, it's not very Messiah-like to have leaks coming out. And I know that it wasn't Masai and Bobby that told them that we interviewed JJ. It was JJ himself. I'm sure that JJ came in and got interviewed, and he's like, "Hey guys, I just went and got interviewed for the Toronto Raptors job." And Woj is like, "Oh really? Woj bomb, bam, Woj bomb, confirmed." JJ Redick interviewed for. I'm sure Masai and Bobby didn't like bring it out. I'm sure that JJ did. So I don't know. I don't know if this is bringing prestige to our coaching search. I mean, Becky Hammond, yes. Some of these big names that we can say that we're interviewing, but JJ Redick does not add to this. In fact, it makes me worried. As a Raptor fan, it makes me worried that why the fuck are they wasting their time interviewing JJ Redick in some ways? If this is some sort of strategic move to get us more shine or attention or something like that, it's not necessarily the attention that I want. As far as like some people are clowning us for even bringing his name up as possibly being our head coach. Some people think it's a joke. Seriously, I thought it was a joke. That was my first reaction yesterday when people brought it up. I was like, yeah, that's funny. Haha. And then Woj confirmed he did get interviewed by us. Oh my gosh. MSJ saying, why not go with Stackhouse, anyone? And race and white privilege for JJ? You have to be joking. JJ is a very smart player, and as a man has an ability to say it as he sees it straight up to anyone. Well, I'm not even saying that's for sure, but the optics of this, and if we're really, really talking from like a progressive mindset, in the history of jobs and occupations and all fields, sometimes race does very much play a factor. And, a white male may get picked over a female or a person of color in situations where they may not actually be the most qualified person. That it's because it's a good old boy system, or sometimes the white privilege card is very much, even if it's not spoken, it is there. Trust me. Like how many black players come out of the league and they immediately go right into a job? I think Jason Kidd, but in some ways he's half white, half black. There's a lot of different, like, there's not very many examples of this. And in some ways, the way it went with Steve Kerr and Steve Nash before symbolizes a pattern of white guys getting jobs without having to go and be assistant coaches. And that's kind of what we're talking about. If there's black players that are used to play and they want to be coaches, they have to go through the rigmarole of being assistant coaches for like 10, 15 years and invest all that time in doing that. Meanwhile, JJ Redick just walks right up and says, "Oh, I'm the head coach of the Raptors," without doing any of that. That's what we're talking about. And it's easy to look at the optics of it. Well, look at the guy's color. Seriously. I mean, I know that, some people are saying, no, don't bring color into this or stuff like this, be colorblind. But in this situation, there's a history and there's a kind of a thing that says, well, this is the way it's always worked in workplaces and it's not right. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Sure, we can say he's a smart player and he has the ability, but how many other players from the NBA that aren't even being considered have that also? You could say Kendrick Perkins. It's just as ridiculous to have him come and interview for us. But why not him? I don't know. I won't play the race card for sure, but this is an issue. Privilege is an issue in society, and it does have a factor in things. And where does it factor into this whole thing? That's what I'm wondering. That's the thing I'm wondering about this. But yeah, I love Stackhouse. I would love to go just get Stackhouse. I'm telling you, if we can get one of these top candidates, I'll be happy with one of them. It's not even that I have a favorite out of them. I just want one of them because I'll feel way better with somebody like that. Cool Cat saying, I want Scotty to learn football so he can be light fast on his feet like Pascal, nimbleness in movement. Scotty did play football. He talked about it a bit last summer. Remember, Cool Cat? I think he played safety. Like he would play wide receiver and safety. He switched sides and he was a wideout and ran a lot. Or maybe he played a little bit of tight end. I mean, he's big enough to play tight end. But he did like to catch passes, and then he was all about playing secondary and like messing up people passing too. With that kind of height out there and his agility, whoo, that dude is a great secondary. Holy crap on defense. Yeah, he did like football, and he does know how to play it. He played a lot of it when he was younger. But in some ways, you don't want them playing football at this point when they're pro athletes. There's a lot of injuries you can get from messing around on a football field. So no football at this point. There may be certain athletic activities that he can get away with playing that are not as high risk for possible stupid little injuries. So, and I'm sure martial arts is like that because it's very much in control. And if he's not actually fighting anyone, he's just practicing. Well, that's a great workout, and it's probably a low risk for injury. Let's see. Mike is saying, I wonder if Precious ever played soccer. He has a great speed transition attacking in space. Yeah, I think that. I think that maybe that could be true. That could be true. I'm pretty sure he has. I mean, being from Nigeria and his background and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure he's played some soccer. It's not like Siakam out there dribbling the ball before the game or something like that, but I'm pretty sure he probably has. Nameless is saying that's jokes, stealing ideas. Well, who knows? It could be genius, Masai and Bobby, like writing it all down on their pad as they're saying it. Oh, okay, yeah, write it. Oh, yeah, this is what Becky would do. Okay, thank you, Becky. Yeah, good luck with the aces. Thanks. Yeah, we thank you. Could be. Who knows? Trevor J saying front office is maybe giving people information to talk about and go whole different way, like a red herring. They're like, yeah, we're talking to JJ, but then boom, we just hired Mike Budenholzer. Bam, could be like that, misdirection. I think you might be right, Trevor. I think you might be right. G saying, did Doc Rivers have coaching experience prior to coaching? I'm trying to think about that. Let's go look at Doc Rivers. I'll go look at his career real quick. We'll fact check this. Why not? I'm on a computer. Why can't I do this? Okay, so Doc played. He played for till 96. And okay, you're right. Doc Rivers did not have assistant coaching job. He went straight as the head coach of the Orlando Magic in 99. So, and he was out for 3 years. And if I remember correctly, Doc at that time was actually on broadcasting. So he kind of did like what Kerr did. He went and did the broadcasting for like a couple years right after he retired. And then I guess they hired him straight up as head coach. Okay, well, that's a good point then. That is a good point, G, that shows that there have been black head coaches that have gotten the job right away without having to be assistant coach. Now, that some of that may be aptitude and things like that. It could be that Doc already was doing kind of head coaching stuff for the Knicks near the end of his career as a player. There could be a lot of different reasons, but that's a good example. Thank you. And more well-rounded the perspective of this whole idea. Is it just white players that get jobs right away without being assistant coaches? No. Well, Doc Rivers is an example of a guy who got that too. Okay. Mike's saying Ibaka went to war for us. We respect the vets here. That's right. Ibaka, you're in for the rest of your life, bro. All right, Let Me Cooks here. He has a question. Odd question, but what three players in Raptors basketball history would you pick to have a trophy in front of the Scotiabank Arena? For me, as a Sixers fan, I take Wilt, Dr. J, and AI. That sounds about right. You wouldn't take Charles? You don't want Barkley out in front of your arena? He would be maybe a one I would consider in there with them. But I think you got it right. Wilt, Dr. J, and AI are pretty solid choices for your franchise. As far as my franchise, I mean, we talked about this a bit. Obviously, we want a Lowry statue. Some people have said we put a Vince Carter statue outside the building, kind of like that Michael Jordan statue, with him in a very impressive signature dunk from his time. And, I'm probably DeMar. I would say those three. Although people may say, if we're making moments in history, the shot of Kawhi, Kyle Lowry taking a charge, and Vince doing a dunk, maybe those three statues would be good out front. Kawhi's shot is pretty iconic. But if we're not going to pick Kawhi, I put DeMar DeRozan statue out there. So I'd say Carter, Lowry, and DeRozan, maybe the three statues. Nameless saying Noah replaces Nick. Got his robotic eyes on Bobby too. They're coming for everybody. Noah is taking over. No. Alex McKechnie, I can fix that ankle now. Oh my gosh, the Noah's taking over, Captain. I just imagine him talking like Scotty. I don't know. Fun Guy's here. Good to see Fun Guy. It's been a bit. Always good to see a Fun Guy. Funny, no one has been enlightened to the fact that Noah is actually the reason for our downfall this past season. Like almost literally, we started to regress. I know. It's so weird about this. I'm serious, y'all. If this continues, we really do need to get the axes and the pitchforks and the torches and head down to the lakeshore, medieval times, exhibition place, force our way into the OVO Center, pry that bitch off the wall, cart it out into the parking lot, across the street, across the lakeshore to Sunnyside Beach, and throw that bitch into Lake Ontario. That's what I'm saying. If we got to do this and take it into our own hands, we'll get rid of that Noah system, because it seems like the Raptors have been in a tailspin and a downfall ever since we installed that motherfucker in there. Seriously, that was Nick Nurse's equipment. I'm sure it was very expensive and they're glad to have it. Maybe just play movies on it and just shut it off. Turn it off and just let it be a nice screen that says just win. Just have messages of encouragement and don't put the shooting stuff on there anymore. Just let it be some sort of glorified television or something like that on the TV. I remember this, fun guy. You're right. We noticed this at the same time. Let me cook saying odd question. Okay, the odd questions coming from Philly fan today. I don't mind. You guys are just do the job tonight, Sixers. Put those green guys out, please. Just put the Boston Celtics out tonight. I'll answer all your questions if you do that. Let's see. But what three players in Raptors basketball history would you pick to have statue? Oh, that's the same one. You just spammed it. Okay, it's all good. It's all good. I will answer all your questions if y'all win tonight. Just do it, please. Just win. Oh yeah, just win it. All right, let's see. Mike is saying Noah is a learning machine. Noah downloaded the curriculum for a doctorate. So now it's Dr. Noah. Dr. Noah sees every shot. Every shot. Man, what are you sitting at your house and your TV's like a smart TV, and all of a sudden the Noah system comes on and says you did not make that basket when you shot your tissue into the West paper basket. Your arc was not good at 30%, and you needed more elevation on your shot. And it's like on your TV, and you're just trying to watch like Survivor or something like that. What? Noah has infiltrated my computer at home, my TV at home, and it's telling me how to shoot my baskets in my trash. What is this? That's when you know it's gotten out of hand. That's when you know when Noah comes to your house. Yeah. Wayne's saying we're talking to possible candidates still might be due to fact that no one has wooed or have been overly impressive so far. JJ is kind of a stretch considering all the candidates at play right now. He's definitely a stretch. And I'm just saying, steer clear. The dude's great on TV. Listen, when people find their homes and they do what they're good at and they're good at doing it, just let them keep doing it. And JJ Redick is excelling in broadcasting and as an interviewer, as a TV personality. And there's no reason why you want to switch that up. You want new challenges. You want to go try something else. Well, you're more likely to fail at that challenge than you are at the one that you're excelling and succeeding at right now. And that's why I would say just stay where you're at, JJ. You ain't got no reason to get into coaching. Trust me. You really, really don't. You probably get paid just as much and you'll have less pressure and headaches being on TV. Really, it's true. But yeah, there's way better candidates out there right now for us. And I don't know. I think that they're just taking their time. That it could be that nobody has really like swayed them and been like, we got to hire them right now. There hasn't been any of that. I'm wondering if we have brought Budenholzer in yet. I don't think we have. I haven't officially heard that Mike Budenholzer is interviewing for a job. Who knows? Maybe he is not interested, or maybe they're not interested in him. I don't know. So it could be that Budenholzer isn't even a candidate because we haven't even said that we're interviewing him. I haven't heard anybody say that we've interviewed him. So Tristan's saying, I'm just hesitant because of the Steve Nash thing. Yeah, that's a really good example. And in fact, Steve Nash was a way better player than JJ Redick, and he couldn't do it. Just because you're a good player doesn't mean you can coach. That's obviously true. And Steve Nash is a cautionary tale. He's definitely a cautionary tale. And in some ways, you don't want to experiment in a way like Brooklyn did with Steve Nash. I knew it was an experiment that was going to go wrong or immediately. I was like, this is not going to work. These dudes are not going to respect Steve Nash. I saw Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden. I was like, these dudes are not going to respect Steve Nash. And that's exactly what happened. Let Me Cook saying, thanks for the referee report, Raptor Freak. No problem, Let Me Cook. Just know David Guthrie is not your friend, bro. Just know this ahead of time. Know it right now. Get the word out to the Sixers heads that this crew is not your friends. And hopefully you guys can just overcome the refs. You got home advantage. You got your home crowd. Cheer them on right and just take care of business. You do not want to go back to Boston for Game 7. Trust me, you do not. Monique is saying a lot of Raptors talk out there, speculation, rumors, etc. I, for one, choose a Raptors reruns today. Cut out of the feeling, this feeling reflective. Just going to watch, listen, and sip my coffee, no matter what happens. I'm a Raptors fan no matter what. That's right. Monique is a real one. She's hearing all the noise. A lot of it's BS. A lot of it's stupid. A lot of people just spouting off, saying dumbass shit. Maybe I'm one of them. But yeah, she's just saying, I'm just going to sit back. I would like to watch maybe some old Raptor games and just enjoy my time and just wait and be patient to see how everything unfolds this summer. And you go, Monique. She's a real one. She's going to be with the Raptors no matter what. And I'm with her, and I'm the same. Mike is saying, gee, to add to the benefits of karate, I got to green belt, but flexibility is key to the training. Stretching and flexibility is a big part of it. Yeah, well, that's fantastic. We need Scotty to be as limber as hell. This guy is doing yoga. He's a yoga guy. Well, the yoga, the martial arts is all good for good strength and strongness to him to avoid injury from having really good stretching and things like that. So I love seeing Scotty diversifying his athletics and going, yeah, that kind of stuff. Tristan's laughing. Cool Cat saying Fred VanVleet needs to learn social media strategy from Pascal. Yeah, Fred, in some ways, I defend you constantly, but the way you were acting yesterday was all buggy. And then also, it's disheartening. Are you trying to get attention so people can see that you don't have Raptors on your accounts anymore? I don't like this, Fred. You don't want this unsettledness. And how does this play in with this whole stupid Masai rumor this week where he's saying he's frustrated with you? Somebody's saying that you're not talking to him about the extension right now. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm sure you are talking to him, but even your social media behavior being a little weird and quirky and cryptic is not good in this situation when there's so much uncertainty. In fact, if I was in the middle of a contract negotiation summer, I would not be on social media at all. In fact, you're more likely to hurt yourself in certain ways than help yourself. As far as like now, people that hate Fred have these weird tweets that he made yesterday, and they can double down on him and say all kinds of weird shit. You don't want that, Fred. You want less speculation. You want to answer more questions when you have the answers and you're willing to answer them. Don't say anything until then. Just be quiet. Make the deal. And after the deal happens and we see what happens, then we can deal with the fallout depending on where you're at. But otherwise, before that's all done and everything's unsure, maybe just chill. You maybe have maybe make the settings where you only have a limited audience of your people that you really care and you're cool in your circle, but not the general public. You need to maybe just limit your audience. If you want to tweet stuff and express yourself, tweet it to people you trust and care about, like your inner circle, but not to everybody on Twitter, because then everybody's going to start speculating and wondering what the hell you mean by like life is short and like money isn't everything and don't lose the things that you can't buy, things like that. Ooh. All right, let's see. Monique is saying stick to the media, JJ, please. Yes. Seymour saying JJ, really, this ain't a good look. Stop in the name of basketball before you take the job, because we don't need you here. No, because we don't need you here. Whoa, stick to TV. Yeah. Tristan saying ridiculous. That's why somebody made that pun on Twitter, trying to be funny, saying the idea of JJ coming to Toronto to coach us is ridiculous. And they spelled it with his last name. That's hilarious. Country Kong's here. Twitch family in effect. That's right. Scotty Barnes, Twitch family forever. We will always have the summer of 2022 and the time we had with young Scott Wayne Barnes. Good morning, Raptors freaks. Did anyone else think there was a referee hit job going on last night during the Lakers game when they called 5 seconds back to the basket on LeBron? My eyebrows raised. Yeah, this is weird. They haven't called this call since Charles Barkley played in the NBA. That is the craziest. I didn't even remember this rule. This rule seems like it's just out of left field. And yes, there was a bit of a ref hit job done last night in the game with the Warriors and the Lakers last night. Let's go look at their free throw discrepancy. Seriously. All right. First of all, okay, they both got the same amount of free throws. So we can't really say that's what it was. But maybe there was some weird kind of stuff going on with the 5 second call. Some people are being very critical of the refs for allowing Kevon Looney to nail Anthony Davis in the head last night, possibly gave him a concussion. The poor guy had to leave in a wheelchair at the end of the game, couldn't come back in the game. And Lakers fans, our hands are up in the arms, and they're pissed off because Davis may not play in the next game because he took a cheap shot from Kevon Looney that did not get a single call. There was no foul called on it. And everybody's like, what the hell was that? Now, a big part of what won the game for the Warriors last night was their incredible shooting. They shot over 50%. They did pretty good, 13 threes, and they made almost all their free throws. Yeah, it was a blowout. And, listen, the Lakers aren't a very good team. They have very good superstars. But in a lot of ways, they don't have a good supporting cast still. This is the same problems the Lakers have had for a couple of years. Well, their supporting cast is rising above the occasion with people like Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves, Rui Hashimura, doing really good things for the Lakers here and there, but they're not consistent. And in fact, LeBron and AD are so important for them to get enough firepower to match the Warriors that they're in trouble. It's a similar problem to what Phoenix has right now. It's all Kevin and Devin, and the rest of them are just not stepping up or doing enough to help them. So the Lakers and the Suns have a similar fate right now, just not enough firepower on a regular basis. Now, the little dog that shoots hoops into hoops is saying the Warriors are going to come back and win this series in the seventh game by taking it all the way and winning it in the last game of the series. So we'll have to see how that goes. They still got to go to LA for a game 6 and see if that is when the Lakers can finish them and put them out. If not, they'll go back to Golden State, and boom, there's that chance for the Warriors to win and come back and from a 3-1 deficit. Holy crap! If they do that again, that is something we don't want the lore to be written in that kind of way in a lot of ways. Of that. So yeah, there was some funny stuff. There's been funny stuff in every single one of these games with the referees in different ways. And it's crazy how they very, very much using the same 10 refs for almost all the games at this point. It's very much David Guthrie, Scott Foster, Ed Malloy, Tony Brothers, the Goebel brothers, Forte, Ben Taylor, Curtis Blair. They're all the same refs over and over again. Like they're using the same freaking refs every game almost. It seems crazy. All right, let's see. Monica's saying, did you see the WNBA sculpture? Follow NBA Canada for more. They have a 12-foot orange sculpture here in Toronto right now. It's down at the base of the CN Tower currently right now. And they want people from Toronto to come down there and sign the statue. It's commemorating the first ever WNBA game that's going to be played here at Scotiabank Arena on Saturday. So this weekend, we're going to go a little heavy on WNBA content, talking about the game on Saturday. On Sunday, for sure, the special report will be on WNBA in Toronto and how it went. I'm going to maybe go to the game. I'm not totally sure. I'm trying to see if I can figure it out. Like my folks are in town. I was going to see if they want to go with me, but we'll have to see. There's a lot of moving parts to make that happen. But we'll have to see if they're interested. Maybe the first ever WNBA game to be played in Canada, Saturday evening or afternoon. I'm not even sure. But yeah, if you guys can find that 12-foot orange sculpture, sign it. Go and sign it. Be a part of history, because that sculpture will be put somewhere and it'll be a part of like the history of the WNBA in Toronto, the very beginning. So it's a kind of a really cool thing to do. I know it's at the base of the CN Tower right now, and it'll be there tomorrow also. And then on Saturday, before the game, it'll be in the arena from Union Station, the entrance to go into Scotiabank Arena. It'll be in there where everybody waits outside. So everybody can get a chance to sign it. It's a very huge statue. In fact, if I was going to sign it, I'd be trying as high as possible to sign, because everybody's going to be signing the bottom. I'm going to try and sign it as tall as I can if I go down there and sign it. Let's see. Seymour saying, I'm biased. Once the Raptors season ended, I don't watch the other teams. I'm with you. I watched very little of one game one day just because I was at Adriana's and she had it on the TV for a second. But otherwise, I'm not actually watching the games. I'm looking at the highlights and the box scores and kind of keeping up with how things are going just from like the stories and the things that are happening afterwards. But I'm not really actually spending the time to watch the games. I'm just kind of like checking this boxes, like I said, and what people are saying. Cool Cat saying, Raptor Freak, I'm not referring to the NFL. I'm referring to the word football, the one with your feet in the ball. Oh, you're talking about soccer. You want him to go and play some football. I don't even know if he's played any of that. Now, that's something that maybe he could get into. Maybe he needs to go, because I know some of the Raptors have done this before. I know OG and Precious and Pascal and some of the other guys went and played soccer, just mess around with each other. And maybe Scotty will go with them and do that with them. It could be very much that Pascal and the other Raptors are opening the door for Scotty to go and get involved in football. Some ugliness this past week at the Canadian Championship, TFC at the arena, the TFC fans fighting the Montreal fans in the stands, and security really dropping the ball. MLSC's kind of got a black eye right now from the TFC game this week. Really, really bad hooliganism kind of stuff. I don't know what the culture is out there for TFC fans, but y'all need to check yourself and really, really like not go in the direction of like English hooliganism around football. and stuff like that. So yeah, a little bit of a bad look, TFC. Not only are you losing, but you got like ugly violence at your games right now. It's not good. It's not good. Country Kong saying, Lex, it's funny because Kendrick Perkins has been working for ESPN for years. He has vocally expressed interest in coaching and mentioned big men get a bad rep for their IQs. JJ just showed up. That's what I'm saying. Of course, Kendrick likes the idea of JJ Redick getting interviewed for our head coaching job because maybe it means an interview for him or an opportunity. If he starts a president of TV personalities going from the studio to the coaching ranks, then maybe Kendrick sees a path for himself. Of course, he's going to like the idea of all that. Click saying, hey, haven't been caught up with any news lately. I'll be back soon. I'm in Italy for a while for vacation. Hope we get a good coach. You go, Click. Living that great life on vacation in Italy. I hope you have a fantastic time and stay safe. And maybe you can go interview some of the European coaches for Masai and see if they're ready. Sergio, Ettore Messina, go see Sarunas Vaskiavikas or whatever. Go talk to the European head coaching candidates while you're there, Click. And that's awesome. I always appreciate when you drop in and say hi and just have a great time. Buongiorno. Yes, awesome. I need some more Italian nameless so I can talk to Click right now. Fiercely saying, let me cook. Vince, Kyle, and DeMar. Yeah, I think those are the right three statues. I mean, people are talking about whose numbers we would retire. Well, 7's the first one. You got to retire 7 first, 10 very shortly after that. I don't know if you retire 15, but maybe you do give him a statue. That's what I would do. Cool Cat saying, Raptor Freak, checkers versus chess on our head coach hunt. Business of basketball is at play with all the public information on who's being interviewed. Paul Silas was another black player that was chosen for a head coach right away without any previous coaching experience. Okay, I'm glad you guys are arguing against me with what my perception is and showing me that there is cases on both sides. This is awesome. This actually makes me feel much better about this. But in some ways, I still don't like the idea of us letting JJ cut the line in some ways. But Paul Silas is a good example. Now, Paul Silas is a special case in some ways because once again, a lot like Doc Rivers, they really showed tendencies of coaching like while they were playing. And maybe that's the kind of thing with Kyle. It's like, listen, if Kyle retired after this series and we still don't have a head coach, and Masai says, Kyle, do you want to come and coach the Raptors next season? That would be crazy, but would we be upset about it? I don't think Raptors fans would be upset about it, even though it's kind of weird and he'd be cutting the line, but it would fit. And we'd obviously know that like it would be kind of a weird kind of situation. I don't know if he'd be totally good at it because he wouldn't be like going through the reps over and over again. But that's a weird situation where I could see it would work. Like Kyle wins a championship with Miami, then retires right afterwards, or they get eliminated and he retires after the season. I don't think he will because he has contracts still. And I think he has more money to earn still. But if he did do that and we hired Lowry, that would make more sense because we've seen him act kind of coach-like in games already. And Paul Silas and Glenn Rivers were both like that as players near the end of their careers. Very coach-oriented kind of players. So people already saw it in their DNA. And that's why they probably were like, yeah, we can take this chance with him because he's already doing coach stuff as a player. So I think that's with the case with Doc and with Paul Silas, it's like that. Maybe Steve Kerr, same thing. It's the same kind of thing. I don't know if Nash was like that. Maybe Nash was like that too. When he was playing for the Suns and directing the players as a player, he maybe sounded like a coach at times out there. And that's why people were like, okay, we can give these guys chances without making them go through the assistant coach like stuff. So Nameless is saying, I will share this with all of you, but I felt white privilege when I went to the hospital the other day in terms of service. It's real, bro. Seriously. I mean, it's a weird kind of messed up thing. Like in some ways, it's not even conscious in some ways. It's very much society sets us up to like subliminally make a discriminatory choices. And even if we don't consciously want to, everybody's not perfect in this department. We all have our blind spots and we want to think, oh, like I'm an angel when it comes to like race and discrimination and racism, but we all do have our blind spots. A really good example right now is somebody like Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson has the same morals he's always had, even though he said really stupid shit recently about the Black Lives Matter movement and its political stance in the NBA he doesn't want it there. Well, he's always thought this way. He's always thought this way. Same thing with Richard Dreyfuss. It recently coming out against like the Academy Awards, changing the rules for inclusion percentages. That these people are thinking, oh, well, if it's not the best, then it shouldn't be considered. It's like, well, you want to give a chance to Hispanic creators, to Asian creators, to Black creators in movies. You want to have like a percentage of them be in nominations for awards because historically they've been shut out or not even considered in the same kind of ways. So there's a lot of different like your privilege and the way you look at race is set when you're younger, and as you get older, time progresses around you and things in the world get more progressive and more ahead of its time because it's the future, and the young people come in and they push progressive and they change more ideas about race and different things. And now at this point, Richard Dreyfuss and Phil Jackson are the same people they were always. It's just that we progress with our ideas and morals and ideas about these things past where they were progressive like 30 years ago. Does that make sense? It's a kind of a weird thing, progress. It progresses, and some of the old heads maybe have been progressive in the 80s or the 90s, but they're not anymore. It's surpassed them. And that's kind of what you see with this. Well, that's the thing. We don't know. We have blind spots. And Nameless has just had a very concrete example when he went to the emergency room recently and he saw it at work. And that's what I'm saying. If you look for it and you recognize it, then you can understand it. Now, I'm not saying go out there and look for it and get all upset and be angry at everybody about it, but be aware of it and see how it happens. And maybe if you have a way to rectify it or make it right, you can do it that way. Maybe you're the one who's getting the privilege, and you're like, I've had this happen to me where I'm like, somebody wants to come and take me next in line, even though I know somebody who maybe a young Black woman or something like that was ahead of me. But for some reason, the person behind the counter just was like calling me first. Hey, come on over. He's like, no, she was here before me. You can rectify these kind of privilege issues yourself if you're getting privilege by making the right thing happen. So it's out there, and people will say it's not, but it is true. It is out there, and it's just something we gotta like be aware of and work around it and be better if we can, and in those ways. All right, good comment, Nameless, and interesting to hear you talk about it from your real life. Cool Cat saying our players will get accustomed to Noah this year. It was so new, the players it was too much in their head. Malachi's at home and he's sleeping, and then the Noah voice is in his dreams, and he's like, "No, stop, no." Maybe, I mean, that may be true. They may just need to get used to it. Maybe the Noah needs to implant a chip in their brain. I don't know. Mike's saying exactly, Lex. Dr. Noah goes live. I mean, it'd be really weird if, like, in like 50 years, we live in this dystopian, like Skynet world where, like, the Noah is the president of the world, like the Noah system from the Raptors OVO. It becomes like the main frame, like brain of like the AI, like controlled world. It's like, and everybody's like, no, no, and they come and pray to it or something. It's crazy. Chris Cogan, good to see a new name. We're here every morning talking Raptors daily news stuff. 9:30 a.m. every day. Every comment gets read. So if you come in here, you say something, we will read it. Let's see what you're saying. Head coach I'd love to see is Stackhouse. He's worked with some of the current players and knows the system. Redick would make a great assistant coach. Maybe he can teach them to hit a three-pointer. Great first comment. Yeah, I like what you're saying. I'm big on Jerry Stackhouse also. When we hired Nick Nurse 5 years ago, I wanted them to hire Jerry Stackhouse then because he just came off that great run with the 905. In the 2 years he coached the 905, he won the championship, and then he went to the finals and lost in the finals. So this guy wins. He went to Vandy, turned around an SEC team that's at the bottom of the conference and made them respectable and winning, which is a huge accomplishment with the SEC competition of like Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, all those great universities around there. Vanderbilt is not a prestigious team, and Jerry Stackhouse has made them into a program that's respectable at this point. So yeah, I love the fit with him too. He's very, very close with Chris Boucher, having coached him in those years. That was his main player when he was coaching the 905. So obviously he has a working relationship with Boucher already, and I'm sure he's familiar with quite a few of the other Raptors also from his time in 905. So I'm with you. He's one of my top 3 candidates, and definitely someone I would like. Yeah, if JJ want to come and teach them some 3 pointers, that'd be fine, but not the head coach. No. Thanks for being here, Chris, and I hope I'll see you again. Cool Cat saying Steve Nash was hired by KD. Brooklyn Nets had to say yes. They were connected from Golden State. Yeah, I could see that. I can see that. I mean, in some ways, that doesn't make sense though, because they honestly did go at odds. Like, I don't think Nash and KD are friends anymore. I don't know. I don't remember them actually being really happy about them hiring Steve Nash. In some ways, they were acting like it and saying all this stuff, but in some ways, I don't know. I don't know. I know Kyrie in particular never really kind of took to Nash in some ways. But this seems like this is kind of right because Nash was there when KD was in Golden State. So this does seem kind of right. At least that was how we would vouch for him and say, "Oh, I like Nash. I've been around him already in Golden State." But at some point, they actually went apart. Like Durant and Nash are not cool anymore. And in fact, Durant threw him under the bus, didn't he? Last summer, he said that Marks and Nash need to be fired for me to stay in Brooklyn. He said that. Remember? Let's see. Name was saying Dr. Noah. Yeah, we gotta look out for Dr. Noah. Cool Cat saying business side of basketball. Keep up the engagement of Raptors after the season is over. Eyeballs is revenue. That could be. Yeah, put the Raptors name out there by putting JJ Redick's name next to it. Yeah, it could be like that. That could be part of it. I don't know. In some ways, we need a little bit of a dormant time, like a winter, to just kind of hide and like be quiet and be away and let all the spotlight be on the playoff teams and just be forgotten about. Like, kind of do your work in silence. And when you have something really good to announce, like our new head coach, then you come out and make a press or something like that. I don't know. I think that this is kind of a distraction. It's caused a lot of unnecessary stupid like comments and dumb stuff like the connection of JJ to us. So in some ways I think this is backfired. If they're doing this to keep the Raptors name out there, it's not helping us look good. In fact, it kind of makes us look cheesy for like interviewing so many different people in some ways. I would make that argument. Mike saying, Cool Cat, heard some interesting things about that coaching search. Apparently, the GM and KD wanted Ty Lue, but Kyrie never spoke with Ty Lue when that was the only thing needed. So the GM got his friend. Okay. I'm not totally sure what you're saying, Mike, but they were interested in Lou, but Kyrie never got to talk to Tyronn Lue. I don't know. That's all woulda, coulda, shoulda, and back in the day and already passed in some ways. G saying Celtics now with two Supermax qualified players. That will be interesting to see how they deal with the cap and ability to keep their depth. They can both command around 300 million each. See, this is part of the fishiness of the new collective bargaining agreement and the timing of it. This is just perfect timing for the Celtics to be able to land and keep both of them. If they did not change the collective bargaining agreement with this new deal, they would have had to say goodbye to one of their big two probably and not being able to afford them. So the NBA changes the rules conveniently just in time for the Celtics to be able to retain both Tatum and Brown. Fishy, 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 fishy. Now, in some ways, I really like that both of them made the All NBA team because that means they do have to pay out the ass, and it does kind of hurt the Celtics financially in some ways. And on the reverse, if there's a silver lining to Siakam's storm cloud of not making the All NBA, well, it is that the money, that the contract, we don't have to pay him as much. But it does kind of put things more murky in some ways about what we're going to do with him this summer because in some ways he doesn't want to try and do his extension this summer, and maybe he'll just go into his last year of his contract with us without working out a new deal this summer because he needs to make that award this year so that he can qualify for the big money. So it's like if he didn't qualify for it this year, he may put off trying to get this contract extension done so that he can try and go for qualifying in the last year of his contract. But then if he doesn't, there's all kinds of weird shit that could happen because of it and unrestricted free agency and all kinds of stuff. In some ways, Masai wants to know if he's going to be concrete going forward, but he can't pay him the supermax at this point because he hasn't earned the ability to get it because of not getting all NBA this year. And in some ways, Siakam may say, I want to put off trying to sign this because I want to try again. So that's part of the problem with this whole thing is it's not really making Siakam's future with us totally solid. Because he missed the All NBA. But on the bright side, we don't have to pay him as much, partly because of it too. So, it's crazy. It is crazy. Cool Cat saying Pascal and Scotty share interests outside of basketball and workouts. That's a great social media engagement strategy. Fun, loving, drama free. Yeah. Yeah, it's good that Scott's posting stuff and letting us know kind of what he's doing right now. He's doing good, wholesome things down in Florida. I wish he was in Toronto, but I'm sure he'll make his way back to Toronto at some point and be around here for a chunk of the summer also. But we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. It could very well be a lot of stuff in Toronto is on hold with a lot of the Raptors until we hire the head coach. And then when we get the head coach, they can come back, meet with the head coach, and then can kind of get their orders or what the coach wants them to try and do this summer to be ready for training camp. So in some ways, they're kind of in stasis, kind of just waiting to see who the new head coach is. And then I'm sure when the new head coach shows up, I'll bet you a bunch of the Raptors will come to Toronto and meet with the new head coach and talk to them about what's expected of them for next season as far as their plans for how they want to run this team. So I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to hire the new head coach, and then all of a sudden the Raptors will start showing up back in Toronto just to meet with them and kind of get to know who the new head coach is, her or him. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Mike saying Sean Marks and Steve Nash are really tight as friends and push that higher. KD was fine with it, and Kyrie was in his own world and ruined the Tyronn Lue thing. Okay, that's what you mean. Well, I know that a big part of why Steve Nash was in Brooklyn was Sean Marks. That was a huge, huge part of it. They're best friends, and he probably did kind of do a little bit of a best friend nepotism kind of hire thing there. It's true. KD signed off on it and said he's fine. And then Kyrie, of course, yeah, you're right. He was in his own world. MSJ saying the bench on the Lakers has come alive, but versus Denver, Jokic will be too much and Denver too deep. I really think Denver has the inside track on the chip. Well, I wouldn't be upset with that. Denver Nuggets winning their first ever NBA championship would be fantastic. Honestly, it's something the league could really use. It would be good for that area of the country. And you know what? I don't mind seeing a Canadian like Jamal Murray getting an NBA championship like that. Besides Jokic, I don't have any problem with him either. If he wins an NBA championship, it'd be fine. Yeah, well, they gotta finish up Phoenix and then take care of the Western Conference Finals and then win the finals. There's still a lot of work to be done. I don't know if the Lakers are going to be the team that plays them in the Western Conference Finals. I still think it might be the Warriors, so it could be very interesting. Mike is saying, or Monique is saying, Natalie Choma is doing a meet and greet at Real Sports, signing autographs as well before the game, etc. Yeah, if you guys want to go meet the Minnesota Lynx, is Natalie Choma. I don't know I'm saying her name right. She's actually signing some autographs at Real Sports tomorrow. Tomorrow on Friday, and then it'll be around. Of course, she's going to be playing in the game on Saturday. So yeah, go check her out. Thanks, Monique, for that news and note. That is something going on. Cool Cat saying, Raptor Freak, one thing you have not considered by JJ got the interview. He is from Kentucky. Under Coach K, principles was successful. So it's good for fact finding as we reset our culture. That's true. No, yeah, with his time with Duke and Coach Krzyzewski is valuable, and even his time in the NBA with the different coaches that he played under in different ways and stuff. I know this is window dressing. If this is a serious interview and they actually do go through with hiring him, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? I'm gonna be like, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Infamous is saying, salute freaks. Yeah, good to see Infamous. JJ would be Steve Nash 2.0 in my opinion. I think that's a pretty good call. I think that's a pretty good call. I mean, we don't even have to have the egos on our team like the Nets did to screw this up with this guy. I mean, seriously, in some ways, it could very well be like not a good decision. The idea of things sometimes sounds good, but the reality of it in reality is not. And Steve Nash was one of those situations. And in some reason, forgive me for thinking JJ Redick may be a lot like Steve Nash in this situation. Name is saying, hopefully Click can use some of those Italian lessons. I'm sure that Click is getting all kinds of Italian lessons in Italy right now, and mostly maybe their food dishes. Probably learning a lot of food dishes, great Italian food dishes. Monique is saying, glad to see all of us on the downside on JJ. W Stream is always, Lex, on all aspects. Keep at it. Go Raptors. Good times, positive. Everybody stay positive. Yes, Monique, you are a beacon of light in our fan nation and continue to shine yourself. I appreciate you so much. Leslie's saying, I've been on the Stackhouse train. He's familiar with our system, and I think he deserves credit for 905 championship and finals. Jerry would also develop our young guys, and he's tough. He's accountable, and he's hard-nosed, and he's organized, and he's really smart, and he has a wide range player and coach experience that's very interesting. The fact that he played alongside Michael Jordan for a while is very, very attractive. The fact that he's been in many, many different playoffs during his playing career with real playing experience in high level playoff situations is very, very good. The fact that he is proven that he knows how to coach and that he's had success in the coaching ranks besides being a great player before is very, very attractive. So I'm with you, Leslie. I am with Chris from earlier, and the same thing. I like that you guys like Stackhouse, and I'm with you guys on that for sure. Cool Cat saying Raptors are growing to be at the level of the Lakers, the Warriors, and Celtics. All year round engagement helps for winning a next chip, get awards for our players. Engagement is good business for NBA Raptors. So you're saying in some ways interviewing JJ is just getting our name out there and being in the publicity so that we can be more on the level with those other franchises as far as being like looked at and talked about all the time. That's a stretch. In some ways that's perception, and the people down south are never ever going to look at us that way. They're always going to slight us and put us down below. If we try and do this more and more, it may be that it gives them more and more ability to just be like snarky and make fun of us. So in some ways, that's part of the reason why I don't like this Redick thing, because in some ways it's kind of a joke. It really is. No disrespect to JJ Redick, but the idea of us hiring you as our next head coach is a joke. And we should not do that. We should not do it. Seriously. If it's just for publicity, okay, whatever. But in some ways, I don't really want this kind of publicity right now. We have dumpster fires going on around our team. And in some ways, we need to fix our shit and go away and be hidden for a while and then come back and reemerge when we're in better shape. Right now, we're not in good shape. And I don't want the Raptors name in the press a lot right now. We need a head coach first. And then, oh my gosh. But this is part of the process. Mike's saying, I also like Stackhouse, and he's great at communicating with players and being demanding at the same time. Plus, the reasons Leslie and Chris respect Chris for the sub the other day. Glad to see you here. Awesome. Yeah, go check out Logical Raptors Fanatic for sure. Always good stuff coming out on his channel. And then, different people like Basketball Rewind, Gubstown Clink. There's a lot of good Raptors channels out there to check out and follow for sure. And appreciate your follow also, Chris. Mike is saying, I also like Stackhouse. Oh, is this a spam? You spammed it, bro. Yeah, it's pretty much a spam. All right, Cool Cat saying, my list for coaches don't care for that or in that order. The coaches that you're okay with being on the team are Kenny Atkinson, Becky Hammond, Jerry Stackhouse, Jordy Fernandez, and Chris Quinn. Okay, so those are the lists that you don't care for the order. These are the people you don't want or you do want. These are the ones you would not care if any of them came in. You'd be happy. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying, because I don't think you're against Hammond and Stackhouse, so it wouldn't make sense. Cool Cat saying, when I speak of social media engagement, I refer to the global landscape. As Hollywood says, all kind of engagement is good for business. We become a stalwart in the basketball industry. Okay, I get what you're saying. So it's kind of like they measure how many times the team names are mentioned online in the internet and stuff, and like internet searches. So just having a JJ Redick Raptors story out there is getting engagement with our name out there more, so that when they do the stats at the end of the year and they say, okay, well, Lakers were mentioned this many times on social media, Celtics, whatever, they'll have all the lists. You just want to see the Raptors rise in the ranks of that. Okay. I mean, I guess I get that. I mean, I guess I get the whole idea of all publicity is good publicity, even if it seems bad. Mike is saying it was a correction. I retracted it. It's weird not showing it for you, W Stream. It was a correction. I retracted it. Okay. I'm not sure exactly. Infamous is saying JJ may be a courtesy interview for a future position or to keep his name floating out there. I really kind of maybe think that it's kind of like Bobby and Masai kind of thinking out of the box and saying, well, JJ Redick really, we watch him. He seems like he really knows what he's talking about. Let's put some feelers out and see if he'd be interested in coming here and just interviewing for fun. And JJ's like, really? I never really thought about coaching the Raptors, but now that you brought it up, I think I will come up there and just do the interview just for fun. Okay, all right, yeah, come on in, JJ. And it could have been something like that. It could have, it could have been not totally serious, and maybe just like Bobby's like, why don't we interview JJ Redick? Yeah, why not, Bobby? That's the kind of outside the thinking box, kind of thing I want. Okay, let's go interview him. It could be that simple as that, something like that. Well, officially, the Raptor Freak call is saying no to JJ Redick. In fact, you know what? Let's put a poll out. Why don't we put a poll up real quick? We do polls all the time on here now. I'm going to put a poll up and we'll make it official by saying this. Let me see. Let me go to my channel, go to the community, and I'll just write up a poll real quick. The poll is no, 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 no. I don't need an image. No, I don't want an image. I want a text poll. All right. Raptors, freaks. Do you think JJ Redick should be the next head coach for Toronto? All right. And we'll put yes and no. All right, there's a new post, a new poll going up, and you guys can say what put your official vote in on this. I'm gonna predict a very high percentage no, very very high percentage no on there. All right, yeah, and once again, you guys check out my head coaching Excel sheet with all the candidates and the information about the different candidates for the Raptors head coaching vacancy right now. You can see it all in one place. It's really really good. I'll put the link in the description of this chat after we're done. And then also, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to go over today. I think that's pretty much everything for today. All right, we're just finishing up before 2 hours. Thanks for joining me today, Thursday Think Tank, talking about JJ Redick and the fit and the idea of him getting interviewed for our head coaching job. Is like, what is it? Seriously, is this serious? Or are you guys just kind of doing fact-finding mission or trying to do a publicity stunt, like Cool Cat's saying? What is this all about? Really, seriously. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, Friday freak out. I'm gonna freak out about Pascal getting snubbed from the All-Star, the All NBA team, and talk about my All NBA team. I'm gonna figure out who I would have picked, and I'll present it to you tomorrow. The All NBA 3 teams of All NBA teams, and I'll have all my picks for who should have been picked in those places. And some of those picks are really shady that they did pick for All NBA. I'm kind of like, and maybe I'll do the all defensive teams too. Maybe I'll make my own Raptor Freak All NBA and all defensive teams and present them to you tomorrow. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining me. Have a great Thursday. Get outside and touch grass. It's really sunshiny in Toronto, and the days have just been really, really nice recently. And share the love. Get out there and do something nice for someone you don't know. Just smile or say a nice compliment or just be very friendly to someone. And who knows? You put more brightness and light in the world because we have a lot of dark, stupid shit happening too. So yeah, get out there and be part of the good that's going on in the world. All right, everybody, have a great day and go Leafs. I'm glad to see y'all staying alive last night, beating the Panthers. Extend it and keep going, Leafs. Keep going. And the Knicks, keeping alive too. It's like, holy crap, the Knicks and the Leafs could both be eliminated on the same day. Well, neither one of them got eliminated last night. So they're both staying alive and they still got games to play. All right, y'all. Let's go Raptors.